So I'm here today to give you some pointers on how to make your frontends better suited for meeting the future. So why is this talk important? In the developer community, there is a high focus on how to create new code with the latest trends. And there are also a high focus on the new frameworks, libraries, and best practices. And everyone loves talking about the new bleeding edge technology. But it's like very little focus on how to actually maintain a system. And what is special about frontend is that it tends to have these very short-lived trends that die out very fast. A little bit about me. My name is Ruth Merethe Granevang. I have 18 years of developer experience. I have a Master of Computer Science. Last year, I won the Female Developer of the Year award. And I have a special passion for programming and educational games. So the first one is a big one, how to choose your framework. So there are a lot of frameworks out there, and they have a lot of different attributes. But my experience is that like every framework can't get the job done unless you have any like extraordinary requirements. Everything will work fine. But the one thing that is actually important is to pick a framework that will have a long lifespan and it won't like die tomorrow, because we really don't want to work with dead libraries and frameworks. Because if they die, you get like no security updates, and you get no new updates for HTML or JavaScript features. And you might be bound to old building tools that might not even work with the newer operating systems. I've been there. And it's get much harder to like hire new developers because no one wants to work with dead libraries. And eventually the community will die out, so you won't like get help with your problems. So how do we make sure we don't pick a short-lived trend? So what I then look at, it's the popularity of the framework. Because if the framework is like widely used, then there is a smaller chance that it will die anytime soon. So here I have gathered 3 different graphs based on different data sets. Like it's the Stack Overflow trends, the State of Frontend survey, and the world's most used frameworks. And all these graphs, you can see that there is one is technically a library and not a complete framework. But you see that React is still unmatched. So if someone comes to you tomorrow and said, oh, we need to change to this trend, like React is dead, nobody's using React anymore, then yeah, React is not dead, at least not yet. It might have reached its peak, but it won't die tomorrow because it is so widely used right now. And type-safe frontends. As most of us know, JavaScript is not a type-safe language, but you can use stuff like, for instance, TypeScript or JSDoc. And when I first started using TypeScript, like I think maybe the 3 first months, I really hated it because I was so used to the way JavaScript works and all those tricks you can do with a non-type-safe language. But now I work with it for like maybe 6 years, and I would never go back to plain JavaScript on large code bases or code bases with multiple developers working together, because it gives so much. It makes the code so much more robust, and it's so much easier to like jump into unfamiliar code when it is type safe. Then you actually can look at what you're working with. Libraries. When I first started using NPM libraries, I learned that you should just use everything you need. Like there's free code out there. Don't reinvent the wheel. Use as many as you can, because it will save you so much time. But the reality is that you want that little nice NPM library like this mushroom, but this is actually what you get, because the libraries tend to have dependencies that has dependencies that has dependencies. And what happens when like you discover or someone discovers a like vulnerability far down there, like down in the mycelium of the mushroom, then you need to like upgrade your libraries. And it is a giant jigsaw puzzle to upgrade all your libraries with working versions together. And maybe there's some break-in changes here and there, and you need to update your code. And it's a maintenance hell. So my advice is to be cautious with libraries. Only pick the libraries that you actually need. Maybe you don't need that pretty model. It will save you some time right now, but not in the long run. And always monitor your library dependencies. A useful thing can be to wrap your libraries into reusable components, so that when the day comes and you need to switch out the library, then you can just switch it out at one place. And the last one is the most important one. Always keep your libraries up to date. Because if you like update your libraries maybe every second month, it will be like a super small task. Maybe it will take a few seconds. But if you wait for 5 years, the task might be like too overwhelming and it might be easier to just start over. And so a little bit about reusable components. I find it very helpful to organize and visualize the reusable components in a system, because then I see what I have and other programmers can see what exists in the system. And then you will avoid like duplicates things. And you can use tools like, for instance, Storybook to visualize them, or you can just make something easy yourself that just render out your components if you don't want to add another library. I also find it very helpful to draw the pages to identify where the common components could be. And also here, the last one is the most important. When you're creating a new reusable component, you should always think about, how do I want to use the components? Because that is so much more important than how it is actually implemented. Because you use it hopefully a lot of times, but like the implementation is one place. If the implementation is bad, you can just rewrite it once. I also wanted to mention just one little thing about the data structure, because people have a tendency to think of the data structure as a backend problem, that it should be like decided by the backend developers. But my advice is that you should always collaborate both frontend and backend together, because it is actually the frontend developers that uses the data to like create magic for the user. Accessibility. Your software should be accessible for so many people as possible. Like, for instance, people who can't use a keyboard or a mouse, people who can't see or hear. And you think that might not concern me, but it actually does, because there are tons of regulations for both public and the private sector that you need to meet. So you need to actually read up on the regulations. And this is a nice place to start. The reason that I included this into my talk is that it's important to think about how to code for accessibility while you work, because if you do it later, it will cost so much more, and you might even have to rewrite big chunks of your code. So here is a small little crash course in accessibility. First of all, you should follow the web standards, use HTML tags as intended. If it is a button, you should use a button and not a div and style it like a button. All media elements should have an alternative text representation. And screen readers, when they read your screen, they read from the top to the bottom how it is ordered in the DOM tree. So if you have use CSS to move stuff around on the screen, it can be very confusing when you're using a screen reader. So to the big monster, technical depths. We all have these suboptimal solutions, and when they pile up over time, we call it the technical depths. And that may lead to much higher maintenance costs, decreased productivity, more bugs, scaling challenges, security vulnerabilities, and eventually developer burnout. So we really want to avoid it. So therefore, we need to have a look at where does this suboptimal solution come from. Maybe your program is getting more complex. Maybe you have had requirement upon requirements, and it's starting to actually get out of hand because of all the variations. Maybe the project started in one direction and then is kind of going another direction, and the logic on the way, it doesn't really make sense anymore. And you always have those small quick fixes that you need to fix something pretty fast, and you do it in a quick, bad way, and you think that, yes, I'm going to go back later and fix it then. And then it accumulates and not addressing known issues. Maybe mistakes were done. You did something and you learned from it. You want to do it better. And of course, outdated libraries and frameworks. So how do we fight these technical debts? The first thing we need to do is to actually acknowledge that it does exist. If we don't do that, we don't stand a chance. And you actually need to make plans and make time for it, because everything else is always so much more important than fixing the technical debts. And you therefore need to explain to the person in charge of the priority list. You need to explain them how much the technical debt will cost the company to make them prioritize it. It is not a one-time thing. It's something you need to do regularly. And of course, the longer you wait, the more resources it requires. So if you wait too long, it might be too overwhelming. And here I have some final things about general maintenance. My experience is that you actually spend more time digging into old code, either by fixing bugs or doing further development, than you actually do when you create the initial code. So that is why you need to have a focus on how to create easy maintainable code. So you can start by trying to make a logical structure, an intuitive one, so it will be easier for you to find what you're looking for. You should choose simplicity, because simple code, it gives fewer bugs and it's much easier to learn and much easier to work with. And the last one is very important, is that it might be another programmer that is going to maintain your code. You need to write so easy code, easy and understandable code, so the next programmer will understand what you have written. So I have 2 key takeaways from this talk. The first one is that you should do everything you can to avoid those short-lived trends. And second one is regularly address technical debt.